This is going to be a bit more of a serious one. I'm not making jokes, or at least I'm not planning to. I'm not spilling any tea or any of the sorts. In this video, I'm going to be talking about something that I have dealt with and probably some of you have dealt with as well. I also want to say that I'm in no way a dating expert or a life coach or anything of the sorts. I just want to share my thoughts and experiences and get this off my chest. Maybe it resonates with some of you, or gives you some sort of peace or reassurance that it's okay to be dealing with this. It's normal and it happens to most of us. Many people can't get over it. Some of them don't even want to, but I do. So I, as 7 billion other people in this world, have been hurt in my life. We all get hurt at some point. For some of us it's more minor, for some of us it's more major, even traumatic. Experiencing trauma causes you to have issues later on in life, whether you like it or not. I have learned that you can't decide that being hurt won't affect you, because it definitely will, especially if you're still young and don't have that sort of awareness and experience. Something like the things I went through will definitely affect me, and they had affected me, and it doesn't matter how hard I fight it or have fought it back then. In the beginning, as I got out of a certain situation that I was hurt in, I even wrote a journal entry just explaining how I will not let that affect my next relationship, because I have, and as probably you have too, heard the saying, hurt people, and I was not having it. I'm like, no. I wrote, I'm going to do everything in my power not to hurt the next person I'm dating or I'm trying to date, which is a good thing in itself. But the problem here was that I wasn't really dealing with the stuff that I went through. I mean, of course I did my regular overthinking and overanalyzing, but other than that, I just stated that I'm not gonna let this affect me. And I went about my life, started a new one actually. I didn't even want to date when I moved here to Germany. I mean, correction, I was kind of at a place where I didn't really want to start anything, but at the same time, I was waiting for the love of my life to just walk through the door and sweep me off my feet. Yeah, so about 6 to 7 months have passed and I didn't really engage with anyone. I even told the people who have expressed their interest in me or towards me that I didn't want to start anything because I wasn't gonna be here long, and that was partly true. But if I'm really being honest, it was more of the fact that they didn't awaken anything in me that would have made me say, okay, I want to make this work no matter what. So my point is, all this time have passed since my last traumatic relationship or last traumatic experience. I was fine-ish. At least I was getting to know myself a lot more. I was becoming more conscious about my thoughts and my actions. Just chilling, taking my journey in life step by step, And I thought I have dealt with the stuff from my previous relationship, because it just needs time. But I haven't, because it doesn't only need time, it needs conscious action. And the reason why I'll be forever grateful to this German guy for walking into my workplace that day in January is, if that hadn't happened, I never would have come to the conclusion that I ended up reaching. By the way, sorry if you hear voices. My dad and his friend are talking so much, so loud. I can't really just go out and yell at them to shut up. Anyway, at that moment, I wasn't as ready for a relationship of serious caliber as I thought I was, because I didn't know what I do now. Or, I probably would have realized this, but in another situation in which I might have caused more damage. Now, I really hope that I didn't hurt this person, because that was never ever my intention to cause any distress to anybody, but a person that I did hurt was me. I hurt myself by not dealing with my issues. Of course, I didn't know how to. Nobody has taught me that. But the thing is, you have to deal with your issues, because if you don't, not only will you hurt others in your future relationship, but you will continuously hurt yourself, because that shit stays with you. Well, how do you deal with trauma? Well, I will know more about that when I'm done with my studies. But for now, an important step is just to embrace it first. Embrace your pain, embrace your hurt, embrace your anger, whatever you're feeling. Trying to suppress it or fight it isn't going to make it go away. I mean, you can lie to your conscious, but you can't lie to your unconscious. And trauma's favorite nest is the unconscious. So even if you tell yourself, like I did, that I'm so self-aware, so mature, I do realize what has happened here, so I will just move on. It won't affect me because I have enough psychological or whatever knowledge that puts me beyond all this mess. And besides, I'm such a positive person, I can just always pull through it, so whatever, right? Something better is coming. Yeah, that's not the way you deal with this. Yes, I do have psychological knowledge that allows me to recognize what has happened, but that bites me in the ass many times too. You can't really be mad at people for doing you wrong or hurting you because you say, okay, let's take a step back and talk about why you're doing this. Yes, okay, this has happened to you in your past. You told me that. That is clearly why you're acting like this. So it's alright, I will help you deal with it. This is something that I did with my previous relationship, and the person I was with gladly used that for his advantage. And normally that's a very beautiful thing, right? When somebody's hurt, somebody is being triggered in their new relationship and act out because of past trauma, and the other person recognizes that and wants to help. That's really great, that's really beautiful. They can actually help, but only when the other person wants their help and they want to deal with their issues. A loving and supporting environment provided by a partner is an amazing crutch in that process. But if your person doesn't want to deal with it, all they're going to do with that loving environment is destroy it. And you can't really do anything to prevent that other than ending the relationship before that happens, of course. Now, I want to stop and state that I'm not trying to say that if you meet someone who has issues and haven't dealt with them yet, just leave that person. Nor am I saying that if you're a person with issues, you shouldn't date. No, if you're both open about the problem and know how to handle it and are ready to handle it, it can absolutely lead to a healthy relationship and a healthy situation. But never stay just because you want to fix your partner or you want your partner to fix you. Hurting people is still a bad thing at the end of the day, no matter the reason behind it. It can't be excused by, sorry, I have issues. It can be explained, but if anybody ever tries to use their past trauma as an excuse as to why they are continuously hurting you, leave. Now, where was I? Oh yeah, I didn't deal with my issues. Now, what exactly didn't I deal with and how did that affect me? So I'm not going too deep into my previous relationship, but a few things to note are the following. It was an emotionally manipulative relationship. I was very naive, very stern on fixing this guy. I failed to see that I couldn't, and unfortunately stayed around long enough for this person to cause a lot of emotional damage. I don't want to paint this picture of this being all his fault, him being a horrible person, and poor me being the victim. No, I'm not a victim and I will not pose as one because I could have avoided this. I had many chances to leave, and then I also had many chances not to go back to this person, but I didn't take these chances. So no, it's not 100% my fault or his fault. He is a very damaged person who thinks he doesn't need healing, and because he's hurt, he keeps hurting others. He got into this cycle that I wanted to avoid, but was kind of already in. And when you are in this cycle of hurt people, you simply cannot function in a healthy way when it comes to relationships. So, a type of issue that I want to focus on is commonly known as fear of abandonment or abandonment issues. This is not recognized as a mental condition or a mental health issue, but rather as a type of anxiety that develops from childhood experiences of relationship loss, such as death, abuse, divorce, and other traumatic events. It can be worsened by future experiences like an emotionally abusive relationship. To understand all this a little bit more before diving in a bit deeper, I want to tell you what exactly this means and how how it affects the person. Even though losing people is a natural part of life, someone with abandonment issues has experienced that in their childhood and now lives in fear of abandonment, of that ever happening again. I'm quoting an article by Healthline on this. They may also exhibit behaviors that push people to leave, so they're never surprised by the loss. AKA, we're in control this time, unlike when the traumatic event or events causing this fear took place. Now, it's important to note here that these initial behaviors are absolutely not purposeful. However, sometimes over time, the reaction that these behaviors get can be used to reinforce the trauma in our brains. It's kind of miserable if you think about it. We kind of become addicted to abandonment in a way. We keep causing it to happen over and over again subconsciously. So I'm going to link the article if you want to read up on all this. I don't really want to talk more about causes and symptoms and whatever because it's not as relevant. What I want to talk about is specific behaviors, going over my mess as well. So when you live in this fear of abandonment, the last kind of person you want to end up together with is the kind that abandons you, right? But here's the catch. One of the behavioral patterns that stem from abandonment issues is subconsciously choosing exactly the type of person you want to avoid. This can clearly be observed in my last relationship, in addition to another symptom, clinging to unhealthy relationships. Getting onto behavioral pattern number 2. This one I have not heard about until recently, when a very good psychologist here on YouTube kind of talked about this problem. And when he did, everything my brain had been preoccupied with for the past few months fell into place. Okay, not everything, but a huge part of it. So this pattern is the exact reason I was a dumb bitch in my previous, in the over-discussed situation here on my channel. So in this pattern, you try to recreate a situation in which you were abandoned in your future endeavors. Only this time, you're the one that walks away. When he said that, I was like, oh my god. Fuck. Psychology is fun, especially when you understand human behavior a little bit more and things begin to make a little more sense. Like, why I did this. Trying to see if he would double text me or something, which is totally childish. So he did it, and this was on Monday. I left him on red on Monday, and I was like, okay, I'm not even gonna text him anymore. I hate the way I act when I'm in these situations. I just lose it, and I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm not myself, and I act out, and I'm so desperate, like I want it so bad to happen, I just don't know how to go about it, and then I end up being really dumb and everything up. The long story short, so I texted him like, so I was just oh god, so I was just wondering if you're so uninterested or something else is in the background of the fact that you haven't asked me out yet. I was just like, what? I was like, yeah, bitch, that will do it for him. God damn it. It's so stupid, honestly. Like, what the f was I thinking with that? He ended up... yeah, sweetie, what you were doing was getting hella triggered and going, oh my god, he's gonna lose interest. What do I do? It is time to take control, because if he loses his interest, I want it to be my decision under my control. Him losing his interest on his own would be too much to handle for my ego and my little heart. But if I make him lose his interest, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna obsess over it for a few months. Like, why did you let me do that? But it's still better for my ego at the end of the day, right? And it feeds my anxiety too, so everybody wins. Sure, except, honey, no one really wins other than your anxiety. What I was doing when I sent those messages discussed in my video requires a little bit more of a backstory. When I was in that abusive relationship, I stayed until I reached a breaking point. Very weak mental state, very insecure, very obsessive. After reaching said breaking point, I decided to confront my ex. That was when we ended up breaking things off, but he told me a few things that have stayed with me ever since, even though at the time I knew it was all bullshit. And I want you to know that if somebody ever tells you anything along these lines, it's bullshit. He told me the reason why he stopped loving me and why I was in this very painful situation, because according to him I put myself there, is because I have put too much effort in this relationship. Putting 100% in is too much. I should have made him chase me more, and I always should have stayed a little bit out of reach so that he stays interested. This is almost word for word exactly what he told me. Oh, and that I'm too much. And since I was younger, inexperienced, and already had my issues from childhood, plus I had been emotionally abused for the past few months, this thing kind of became engraved in my unconscious, subconscious. Now, this has truly baffled me, but it just made sense. What my ex was doing throughout our whole relationship was a game of giving me reassurance and then taking it all away again and again. Once I would feel comfortable and safe in my position and in our relationship, he would go cold or do or say something to shake my confidence and make me feel insecure. Just a small reminder that this is actually very fragile, and I needed to do something to earn him back and earn his affection back. Now, I understand that maybe if you haven't been in a situation like this, you might be like,
what the hell, chill out sis, it's not that deep.
But it is. I might make a video on emotional abuse later on, but for now, believe me and psychologists, because it is deep. This sort of thing has its roots in your childhood, when you're very sensitive as you're developing. A safe environment is incredibly important to a child because that is what they will build on. That gives the foundation for what they're gonna be like. I hope that you see how everything's connected. I'm trying my best to explain it as well as I can. So, applying all this information we now have, let's see. As many people do, I adapted this technique I had witnessed and applied it in order to gain control in my new situation, because as I've said, when these traumas are caused to the psyche, the affected person feels absolutely out of control, and in the future they will desperately work towards getting it back, which results in self-sabotage, amongst other things. These are all things we can get over, by the way, with some help, but the first step is always recognition. I recognized that I chose my ex because of this, and I recognized that I was acting neurotic, or almost neurotic, with this German guy because of this. You see, I was kind of doing what my ex did to me. I was trying to first not give too much away because I was made believe that that is a bad thing, and guys need to chase me, otherwise I can't really keep their interest. And second, when this guy would ask me if I liked him or what I thought of him, or the last one,
well, you never ended up texting me back, so I just thought you weren't as interested anymore.
all of those required reassurance. I did in fact give him that. I told him I liked him and that I thought he was cute, but there was always a but to make him unsure and less confident so that he would think that he needs to chase me more. And the last time when I said, dude, still have to decide that, you know, he didn't take the bait. And yeah, this is something you push people away with. I mean, yeah, if they have a healthy amount of self-confidence and set boundaries, they won't have any of this shit. So, job done. Mission completed. Congratulations, I was in control. I have reinforced my fears. But this time, I also caught it. And I'm very happy I did, because now I've been working on it. Of course, a part of me wishes that all this with my ex had never happened and all this with this other guy had happened differently. But another part of me kind of doesn't wish that, because at the end of the day, I never would have learned all the things I have, and I wouldn't be as sure of myself as I am now. And now I can confidently say that next time I won't do this shit show. Next time I won't be hurting neither the other person nor myself. And this is how I don't become the person who hurt me. Do I do an outro? Do I? I mean, yeah, a bit. Thanks for watching. I don't really know what else to say. This shit was deep, and thank you for watching it all the way through if you did. And I hope it wasn't boring and it was easier to follow. I hope I can edit this so it's not longer than 30 minutes. Anyway, I feel like this is an important step for me, and I feel like this is an important thing to talk about because no one really teaches us all these things and no one really told me these things, and yeah, I'm getting out of this, and my work doesn't end here by making this video. But a lot of us deal with this kind of shit, and it ruins a lot of relationships and it hurts a lot of people, and I want that to stop. So this video is kind of an accessory to that. So yeah, thank you. Like and subscribe and follow me on my other social medias, which are linked below. And stay safe and stay healthy. I'm sending you my love. Bye.